Most people hear sardines and immediately think, oh, hell no. But, but what if one of the cheapest, most overlooked foods on the planet is actually one of the most powerful tools for the brain, health, inflammation, and longevity? Today we are breaking down why sardines might be the ultimate superfood and how to actually enjoy them without holding your nose. We welcome back to the show Dr. Andria Klioze. Welcome
Hi,
back.
guys.
Hey. Well, this has been a very peculiar subject, but a good one at that. And I can't wait for for Dr. Terry to tell what the problem is about him and sardines. But let's start with you. Why are people suddenly calling sardines a superfood, and what puts them in that category?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, it's got a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which we know is good for your brain, for your heart, for your overall health, and we can break down that in a minute. It's also very important because it has vitamin D in it, and some people just don't believe in vitamin D enough or not getting enough because their doctors tell them that 30, your blood levels are normal at 30, 36. Now, eating a can of sardines is not going to bring you up to multiple thousands that some people need to get them up to above 50, but it's a good start. It also has a lot of calcium in it. It also decreases systemic inflammation, neurologic inflammation, cardiovascular inflammation. It is very, very powerful. So there's so many angles that this is a superfood. There are many superfoods, but this is a very powerful superfood. But like Dr. Terry mentioned before, not always the favorite of some people. So we can try to mask it by squeezing it into food. I can tell you, I hate sardines. I really don't like sardines. They're so oily and fishy. But when you put it into a salad and it's masked, I don't mind it. But reality is, sardines do not have the same powerful health benefit sorry, anchovies. I'm talking about anchovies. Anchovies have as powerful as sardines. Sardines are the mega. Anchovies hold no weight to it, but anchovies are very fishy, very salty, and very gross in my mind. Excuse me for those who love anchovies, but sardines, I'd take them 100 times over.
Interesting. So, quick reality check. How do sardines compare to fish oil, or their omega-3 supplements? Are we missing something by not eating the real food?
Well, omega-3 fatty acids are very powerful. We know that from a heart, from a cholesterol, from a brain standpoint, from a longevity standpoint, from an anti-inflammatory standpoint. But when you take in sardines that are coated in olive oil, you're getting a high protein source, also some creatine, which, there's always the debate on creatine, but that's a natural form of creatine that's also powerful. If you can't tolerate sardines, yes, you can get your omega-3s from other places, but here you're getting your protein benefit, a little kind of quick protein snack you can take to work or add it into your muscle building platform. I just ran the Boston Marathon, and that was a big part. Woohoo! First one. Big part of my training was adding in sardines because of their anti-inflammatory effect, their protein intake, their impact on my brain. I need to be focused. I need to have determination and I need to have success. Anti-inflammation from muscles and building muscles. So really powerful. So yes, I feel that it's better to take it in, but again, some people just can't get over it, but we can talk about ways to do that.
All right, Terry, fess up. What the hell is your problem with sardines, and why have you dedicated a whole damn show to sardines?
I can already feel I'm gonna be I'm gonna be flattened by the end of this show. I'm gonna feel like some truck ran over me. It's like two against one. I'm not the only damn one that hates sardines. So
It's true. Very true. Some of my patients are like, Dr. Cleus, I have tried this. It is gross. I did a cooking class for a financial group locally. And after the cooking class, and the sardines were brought up along with many other superfoods and anti-inflammatory things. And he just goes, I've been trying. I'm trying so hard, Dr. Cleus. It's killing me. So Jerry, you're definitely not alone.
well, I appreciate that, and it's so funny because my front office manager, she's like the glue at the office, and her name's Michaela, and she goes, "You know what? They're the superfood, and you've been talking about. I'm going to bring them to the office." And I actually, Spence, I reached out to Dr. Andrea and go, "Okay, my front office manager just brought sardines in the office. We're going to try them. How do I start it?" And we actually, after the end of a day, we broke them out, and we all tried. We got through it. I did not die. I did not, I did not
Throw up.
collapse. It was not my favorite thing I've done, but I'm like, that's what started the show. I'm like, all right, I'm a big ass wuss, and I know they're good. And just in the first 5 minutes of the show, I'm like, all right, I should probably try them again because this how she's talking. But so I gotta give a shout out to Michaela because after the show, we're gonna try them again.
Go, Michaela.
Yeah, so she's amazing. All right, I gotta ask one more thing. People also worried about mercury in fish. And I had mercury poisoning because I was eating a lot of sushi and tuna and all that. But it's I know it's not a predator fish, but do we worry about mercury or heavy metals in sardines? No.
That's another benefit to sardines is that it is very low in mercury. Tuna is one of those no-no fish, especially big eye tuna. Big eye tuna has the biggest amount of mercury. And again, it all depends on where that tuna is harvested because mercury is not a part of our natural ocean. It comes from the dumping of industry into the ocean waters. So again, where the tuna is harvested, the type of tuna, and very often when you go eat sushi, unless the chef is purchasing his own sushi, he doesn't know the type of tuna he's getting. He just knows it's sashimi and it's high grade tuna. So, those are tough things. And I would keep that down because it's fascinating one that you discovered you had mercury toxicity because a lot of people they'll feel badly and they won't understand the etiology of it. So hats off to your doctors or whoever discovered the mercury toxicity.
Well, I know we're talking sardines. What's big eye tuna?
Is a type of is sushi tuna. So there's different types of tuna, but if you look at the FDA ratings, they will tell you big eye tuna has the highest amount of mercury that they've measured.
I
That
mean,
may vary.
all I hear about is toro and bluefin and yellowtail. When you're looking at a sushi menu, it doesn't say big eye tuna. What do you?
No, in some places. So you want to stick to yellowtail as the one we use, but I still try to avoid tuna if I can. If I'm with my son, we're eating sushi, it's yellowtail all the way. But I'm very careful. I don't typically eat as you know from your experience, you avoid, it's really hard to get that mercury out unless you purposely extract it. So
Yeah,
awesome.
I had a clinical nutritionist who was actually on a show. He said a great way to get rid of mercury is cilantro and pumpkin seeds. And I started chelating with cilantro and pumpkin seeds, and I went from a mercury level of 13 down to 4. So it actually
Nice.
worked. It actually
How
worked.
much cilantro? That's a great tip for anyone listening, phenomenal tip. How much cilantro? Because you really wanna dose that appropriately.
Yeah, I was just growing in my backyard, and I was taking like just a couple sprout uh, bits of it twice a day.
So you didn't do a lot, very good. Remember, just a side note, I know we're talking about sardines, but mercury, 1 ounce of mercury is 180 grams of magnesium. So many people are deficient in magnesium, and that's a quick way of getting magnesium in our system. Magnesium used for so many different things in our bodies. So, um, pumpkin seeds are wonderful magnesium source. So great.
Oh.
That's wonderful.
All right, well, let's get back to these mushy, stinky fish questions, and and let's be honest. People think they're smelly. They crack open the can and they end up puking, and they just can't get past. I mean, my father used to bring sardines to the movie theater, and just would crack open the can and eat them as a snack, and I think I got PTSD from that. But so we're dealing with a canned fish, and so why do sardines have such a bad reputation besides what I just spewed out?
I don't think they have a bad reputation. I think it's because there are people like yourself who really struggle with fish and fishy smells. And depending on the cans you buy, I have Wild Pacific. I use it because it's high on the Yucca scale than anything else at Costco sold. And so there are many other wonderful, wonderful brands out there that also have very high ratings, but some of the cheaper brands of sardines actually stink worse than the more expensive brands. So I think it's worthwhile trying different brands. You may find one that is not as powerfully fishy smelling and fishy tasting. I used to eat tuna a lot, and I don't, canned tuna because it was easy to take to work. I don't because of the mercury we talked about. So I switched over to sardines. And then as I was training for the Boston Marathon, I just needed more protein. And so they were easy. It was easy for me to take a can to work or pop open a can between clients and try to push my protein volumes. And then as we talked about, it has so many other benefits to it.
Now you see some sardine cans, and they say, which Michaela actually bought some that, and it was smoked, and some have different flavors and all that. Do you try and stay away from all that and just stick with just the
I
basic?
do. I do. Smoked, increases cancer risks, especially prostate and colorectal cancer. So we're not into smoked meats. No deli meats does the same thing. We avoid,
Interesting.
we avoid all smoked meats. If somebody says, "Well, geez, doc, I smoke my turkey. It's kind of a family deal." Yeah, you're doing it once a year, but you don't want to be doing it every week and every day and every month. These are the subtle things in life that we slowly teach people, and as they make the modifications, it's not like we can't do these things. It's just that we shouldn't be doing them every week and every month, a special occasion. So I don't do smoked. I don't add seasonings. If I do it myself. I never want to have things that are pre-seasoned. It's convenient, but sometimes you can add your own. I just like clean as possible. And then I create my own recipes, my own ideas, of how I want to make my food.
Are you okay with the fact that I got a can of coconut curry, sardines in that I got from Whole
Well,
Foods?
so that's great because curry is also anti-inflammatory. Curry is made up of 5 to 6 spices, depending on who's making them, sometimes 3. Coconut is a great alternative to dairy. I'm not a big dairy fan unless it's sheep or goat. It's a whole anti-inflammatory pathway with goat and sheep over cow dairy. So I think that's not a bad thing, actually. But, that's actually a good one. So, but again,
I
look at all the processed chemicals that might be added if you don't have any of that. So always look at the extra chemicals on the list of the food you're purchasing. If you're getting some gar gums, xanthine gums, and some of those gums are not so terrible, but they can affect the gut biome. Not all of them. You want to look at other preservatives because a lot of times when foods are stored, there's extra preservatives that become harmful. And in and of itself, it's not bad. It's them all added together day after day, week after week, month after month.
Doc, on paper in this conversation, it just seems like sardines are no brainers. And, now my partner has coconut curry ones even. But you
They
know,
may not smell as
but
bad.
but people still won't touch them. Do you think a lot of this mental block is how they were prepared? Did they smell them bad one time? What is the psychological side that, like me, or I'm probably the only one that's listening that has a bad thing, but for the people they're thing, what do you think is holding people back? Because like you said, on paper they're great.
I think it depends on how you grew up and your exposure. We in Italy, we used to go to the local market, and my dad would buy these things called pesciolini, which are little tiny fish, similar to like sardines, and they didn't taste bad. They were fried. Um, and they didn't smell bad. So for me, but I didn't really like the head on the fish, so it's not something I want to go back to. So I would imagine that people develop like negative feelings about fish or fish products based on, what di- distracted them from them. In your case, it was a smell. So if the fish didn't have a smell and maybe you didn't see the skin or the head on the fish, that may be something that you're like, if it's just added into my food, you know what? I don't even notice it. I don't mind it. Just kind of like as I talked about earlier the escargot. You're not escargot. Not sardines. The other
Anchovies.
anchovies.
Anchovies, yeah.
Anchovies for me are if I had to eat an anchovy, it's so salty. And I don't even mind fish. I love fish, but it's salty and it tastes very fishy. But I love eating fish. But for me, I couldn't eat anchovies. I can eat sardines because to me they're not that fishy. But again, it's perhaps which ones you're buying, Terry. So I would try to mask it and maybe not see it. Does it bother you to see the little fish or the skin on the fish?
I'm already under the bus, so I might as well say, yeah, the whole little thing, seeing those little silvery things, yeah. So,
I
you
think this
know,
is an important point for the listeners because there might be a lot of listeners. Because I can tell you, I have a lot of patients that say the same thing. They want to eat them because they know it's healthy. So we shouldn't be negative about it. We should inspire them to hide the things. They can take the skin off. The skin of all fish have a lot of vitamin D. My husband, when we cook fish at home, he'll take, like when we have sea bass, he'll take the sea bass and he'll fry the skin for me because I know it has a lot of vitamin D and I'll eat it. But he makes amazing. I mean, you guys gotta have to come up to Ormond and try his sea bass. It's pretty awesome. He's an
I,
amazing
I,
chef. You
I
guys are welcome.
sea bass sounds way better than sardines, but but so but by the end of the show, I'm gonna be converter.
Yeah.
I know I know you two are can convert me, so it will work. But I do want to ask this quality matter? We talked a little bit about you went to Costco and there's some cheaper brands. Does the oil, the sourcing, what are some people need to look at if they're like anti sardines, but after listening to the show, they want to try it and they want to have the best experience? What is something they need to look for?
I really use the Yuka app a lot. I find it very, very helpful because there's some subtle things. You can look at a
What's a
recipe.
Yuka? What's a Yuka app?
Yuka, UK, it's YUKA, and it has a little carrot, and it's free. And you scan. Here, he's got it.
Huh?
Little
The
carrot.
hell?
And it's very easy when you go grocery shopping, you can scan things. They won't do jerkies. They won't do protein. They must have been blasted by some attorney from some protein company or jerky company, but they said they won't do that. But um, but they're a very good source to get rid of chemicals out of your food. So it's an easy one. You
Huh?
try a couple of the top rated ones and then see
Okay.
which ones you like. And then honestly, I would take the skin off if it bothers you. If you can cook it where you mask it, a- and then over time, Terry, it's just like an addiction or a non-addiction in your brain that you've got to get over, and saying, I really want to enjoy this, but these are the things that bother me. I would identify those things and then I'd try to work through what's bothering you and try to mitigate it so it's not as heavy resistance to you.
Fair enough. If we now you just mentioned something about how it's prepared. So if I had sardines from a high end restaurant, this might be a totally different conversation with versus just eating it out of a can. So maybe for the people listening to this as well as myself, because I have no problem being thrown under the bus. So if for people like us, maybe starting from in the can is not the best place to start.
So my favorite recipe that I give my clients when they come and see me or my patients, I actually have them take some tomatoes, chop red onions. Remember, red onions of all the onions are going to be the best, then the yellow, then the white. They have the most antioxidants and health benefits. And then I add capers, which is your salt, and put that in with chopped up sardines. So they have it chopped up in the pan, saute those all together, and add parsley, one of those super greens, but you can add any other string beans, whatever, spinach, whatever you have in the pan. Then take some eggs, take 2 eggs, scramble them in a bowl. And while that's cooking, add some pepper and garlic if you want, pour on the egg. And so you're making a frittata. And that is by far, in fact, I have a lot of young people coming to me that have, I wouldn't say eating disorders, but maybe very anxious about eating. Maybe they're a little overweight or they're underweight because they're paranoid about gaining weight. So I have a lot of parents bring me kids, teenagers or adults. And I go through cooking with them in our kitchen. and trying different things like sheep cheeses and goat cheeses because they don't think they're going to like them, and then they taste them and they're like, wow, this isn't bad, because some sheep and goat can be very tangy, but some aren't. So I mix that in, and when they eat it, in fact, one of the kids came over and he goes, this is incredible. What is this? And I was cooking and he was walking outside in our food forest in the backyard, and when he came in, I said, well, just try it and then we'll go through what you think, try it some more. And he ate quite a bit of it. I think half of the omelet was pretty big. And he said, this is really good. What is it? And when I told him sardines were in there and the goat cheese, he was shocked because he said, I will not eat sardines and I'm not eating goat cheese. And I said, okay, I'm going to make something else. We'll see how you like it. So, little white lie.
That's great.
So, I'm sure, Terry, when we try different ways of putting things together, you probably won't mind. And I really wouldn't be hard on yourself. And I wouldn't be hard on those listeners because, you know,
Shut up, Spencer. Yeah, Spencer will be hard on me, so that's okay. Yeah. I had somebody try to trick me to the same thing because I had for a long time, even though I traveled around the world, I had a very narrow palate, let's just call it. And I remember somebody gave me some food and he goes, what do you think about this? I go, it's kind of bland, but it's all right. And then I mix it with a bunch of stuff like, it's all right. I go, what is it? And he goes, it's called Rocky Mountain oysters. And I went, Rocky Mountain oysters. I go, yeah, that's I didn't know they had oysters in the rock. I go, I'm not really a fish guy, and he just starts laughing, and I'm like, they're the kind of blah. Yeah, Well, about an hour later, he actually told me what they were, and I swear to God, they were already digested, but I wanted to bring them up and just get them out of my body. But
don't
so
waste
yeah.
the thing, Terry. You better tell the audience what they are if they don't know. Don't waste it.
Bull testicles. So, and so, and so, yeah, they were, but even now I'm like, I've eaten them. I could probably eat them again, but just the name alone. So I think that, that a lot is the sardines. I think just some people me included, the word sardine. They can't get past that. They may like them.
And they may think they're anchovies. And there's a big difference between anchovies
that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, anchovies are a whole nother level of gross, and I wouldn't say this is gross, but that's a whole nother level of fishy, nasty, salty, and they're not even significantly of a health benefit, honestly. So I'd be in the same camp if they said, we need to start eating anchovies. I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to get this down my throat? Right?
All right.
So.
All right, Spence, you can take over.
After the balls, I don't know.
Sorry, little fish, small fish, balls. There's probably some correlation there.
I mean, come on now. For those of us who have dogs, what is a bully stick? It's the bull's penis or something like that. I give this to the dog and they chew it up, and I'm thinking to myself, if you only knew what that was. But anyway,
I had no idea.
The benefits of
oh no, my dog would receive that.
The benefits of the Yuka app are tremendous. Terry, if you're not familiar with it, and
no, I'm not
listening or watching the show, there's a section on here that to find out about that food, you can scan the barcode. That's all you need to do. Scan the barcode on that food. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, interesting.
And it'll tell you if it's any good or not. And it breaks it down. What's wrong with it? Why is it bad? Why is it good? It's pretty fascinating. It gives it a rating. So, Yuka app.
And I really, I think that sometimes subtly in foods, there's a lot of small inserted chemicals, and over time, those things build up in our bodies, and we're getting more and more cancer patients coming through, and it's really sad. And they're not coming through early stages. It's like they're already advanced.
Right.
And we can try to get repurposed drugs on them, working with their oncologist, but it's a tough journey. That's a tough one. It's not that we can't help them and reverse disease, but so pay attention. The app is worth having and getting in the habit when you're scrolling through Sam's Club or Costco or Walmart or your grocery store.
Let's say someone's willing to give sardines a shot, which I happen to like them. Now, we've got to make them actually taste good. I love the recipe you just gave out. You got anything else for someone who's
Yeah,
not much of a cooking aficionado?
so so you putting them into mixes, like you can put the can and smash it up. I would add it into a salad. So you can put it with the salad dressing with a little mustard green, your Dijon mustard, and then make your salad with your tomatoes, your cucumbers, but smash that up just like you would do with Caesar salad, right? Dressing. Smash that up, add it into it, and drizzle it on top of the tomatoes, but really make sure it's ground together with the olive oil, the vinegar, your garlic, chopped up onions, your Dijon mustard. Really mix that in together just like you're making your salad dressing, and make sure that you make a small amount so it's not sitting extra, because that you don't want that on the counter. And then pour it over your decent salad, and that's an easy
So you're
way
ma-
to do it.
so Doc, you're making it like into a paste almost. You're not eating the fish. You're eating like this paste, right?
Yeah, and then you can dilute it a little bit with olive oil and vinegar. And, you can add the capers or just add a little salt and pepper, but it has some salt in it. I mean, there's some salt in there, so you probably don't even need to add salt when you do it. Make it as part of your salad dressing. Add that Dijon mustard if you like that spicy flavor, or you can add some cayenne pepper, adding more of a higher level of polyphenols to that, always using your olive oil, and drizzle that on top of your vegetables. You can do the same thing on grilled vegetables and bake it. And so now you have maybe not the raw, right? That raw flavor, but you're baking it and putting it on top of those grilled vegetables. And if you keep them a little crunchy and you don't really bake it hard, you're actually getting a good dose too. And one can is about 20 grams of protein. So let me just look specifically. 18 grams of protein. This was a 4.4 ounce can. So, but some of the cans are actually higher at 20 or 22 grams of protein. So when somebody really should be getting, we don't count calories here at Shield of Life because I really teach them the right foods to eat. So we're not into calorie counting. But as I have my aged patients and we put them on the body composition scale and I see muscle wasting, we push exercise and we do push protein. So when you're taking one can and then you're adding 2 eggs, which is going to be 18 to 20 grams of protein there, that's 40 grams of protein in that breakfast or lunch that you made from the previous dish that I gave you. Now, if you cut up some chicken on that salad that we just had, you're getting your 20 grams of protein, plus you're adding a chicken breast or two. So we want to, as we age, or if we're performance athletes, which we all should try to be at every level of our life. I'm going to tell you a really cool story from the Boston, but we need to be pushing protein and proteins that have anti-inflammatory effects because it improves cognitive performance, because the gut, the brain, the muscle, the gut, brain is a very dynamic axis that improves longevity, healing, anti-aging from not just a physiologic standpoint, but how you look. It's very, very powerful. And these are the things that we want to educate and inspire our patients to do, in addition to stay mobile and physically active, coming to your chiropractor to get your adjustments, to maintain health balance. So I think these are important things that we really need to do and encourage. And it's simple things to do. Simple. So it's just adding into the diet.
Speaking of simple, let me ask you what the easiest. I mean, listen, given just shoving them in your mouth out of the can is one easy, simple way. But if
We'll get them there. Just give them a chance. Give them a chance.
Terry just threw up in his mouth. Hold on a minute.
No, those were the balls. Those were the balls. And then when you mentioned the penis thing, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, poor guy. We're breaking him. Terry, you're gonna have some hard skin after our shows. Let me tell you.
You know what? I'm gonna have to seek therapy from after this show.
You can walk in my backyard. It's very peaceful.
I'm on a plane in about an hour.
Oh my gosh.
that won't cook you any of those things, I
Me too.
promise.
Dr. Terry's gonna turn into an anorexic after the show.
What
Eating
happened,
nothing.
Terry? Did you go on a GLP-1? No, I just talked to Dr. Dr. Bear.
No, I just talked to Dr. Andria and Spencer. I'm good.
That's great. All right, back to if someone obviously is in a rush, trying to, hurry things up and, grab some sardines and, I mean, and actually enjoy them. I mean, do you have anything even quicker as a fix?
I just put them on crackers, and you can add some cheese if you want, some
Ooh,
sheep or goat cheese. Find some that you like, right? People always think that sheep and goat cheese has to be soft and mushy and tangy. No, there's some great hard. Remember, sheep's better than goat, but there's some hard cheeses and they're wonderful. So, adding a thin layer of that on a cracker, and I always do the gluten-free crackers because that's my favorite, or a sourdough version. So, yep, there
well,
you
I'm
go.
loving this. This is
You
yeah.
mentioned you can
Add
cut
some
some of the.
spicy pepper on top if you want.
Oh, you mentioned that you could cut some of the fishy flavor with like lemon and garlic. Talk to us a little bit about that. If people just don't like that fishy smell, that fishy taste.
Well, again, when you're blending it with those things, making a sauce that you're making either for, it's interesting. We just say salad dressings, but sauces and sauce classes are what you really want to go to that push herbs and spices and things like adding sardines. Why? Because there's lots of antioxidation in herbs, and herbs are what heal us along with the vegetables. So, adding that type of sauce that actually diminishes the harsh flavor of the olive oil, not the olive oil, but again, you can get some very potent olive oils that aren't tasty either. So you maybe want to use a lighter olive oil, but it doesn't have as much health benefits. But again, when you add the vinegar to it, and when you add some lemon to it or lime, you actually cut the harshness, and you can enjoy the flavors of those other things and not have that overbearing fish taste. And I always drain the olive oil out. I don't add the olive oil in to my salad dressing, or when I'm cooking those eggs, I drain it first because otherwise it gives you a much more fishy taste if you try to add the oil from the can. And as you get stronger in it, if you want to add the oil as part of your meal, that's fine because you have the polyphenols. One of the things we didn't talk about, and I really want to touch base before we end, is the power of fish oil, and the power of why we take fish oil and why it's so powerful in sardines. One, you've got the protein source. Two, you've got the DHA and EPA, which is what makes the olive oil so powerful, is because they're anti-inflammatory, they lower cholesterol, and over time they've seen in many studies lowering blood pressure. The third thing that nobody ever taught, and it also makes our red blood cells more mobile, which is important because the red blood cells get to our organs, and those organs require the oxygenation. So that's very important. The other thing is pro-resolving mediators. Pro-resolving mediators come from the DHA and the EPA, and they're very important anti-inflammatory effects that come from fish oils. In fact, Harvard did a study on the pro-resolving mediators and gave it to people with inflammatory bowel disease and reversed inflammatory bowel disease, but it's very small bits that come. You'd have to extract a lot and it would be incredibly expensive. So it's important to understand when we're taking our fish oil supplements or natural forms of fish oil. That's why I eat the skin of my fish when I can, as long as it's not one of those fish that's high in mercury, because it's got the highest level of omega-3 fatty acids in the skin. And I'm getting those pro-resolving mediators that decrease systemic neurologic inflammation from all the things that we're exposed to. So that's a very powerful thing.
super good. That's great. So let me ask you if I mean, you've given us so many different ways to prepare a sardine, which is great. And
That's very,
oh,
oh, he can't wait to go home and try different
oh
ones
yeah. Oh,
that aren't as fishy, because now you're curious. Now you're like, wait a minute, I wonder which ones I've tried.
You know what? We just had a guest that talked about curiosity is a great way to change your brain. So yes, I am curious, and
And
so
don't do me a favor, don't get the can. Get a few cans and mask them and find out mask them the way we talked about it before you just try to eat it raw. Because if you go straight and eat it raw, you're going to say, nope, never going to do this. I just can't do this. I'll take my fish oil tablets. Don't go that way. Go first to smashing it up, making some, drain that olive oil out, smash it up, add it to the salad dressings, cook it with the eggs, the tomatoes, the capers, the onions, the parsley, or whatever other greens you have in your, garden, and then pour the eggs on top. And, do half with one can and half with the other can and see if you notice a difference. And if you don't, go with the cheapest and healthiest version, right? And then move it in. Don't go ever just to eat. People that do not like fish, that is the worst thing to do if you're trying to learn how to like this, is to go and be the hardcore. It's kind of like you saying, I'm going to run I'm going to run and I'm going to go and hit my first run as a half marathon or a marathon. You're going to hate it and you're never going to want to go back, right? That's not how we start things. So start things with a few tastes, let your body get used to it, and then slowly build into the endurance of it.
so you've given us a sauce for or a salad dressing for a salad, and you've given us the frittata. Can you give us another simple, easy recipe that maybe not as like exotic, or I mean just as a good, we talked about, like, for example, barefoot. You don't want to go straight from running Hoka shoes to barefoot shoes. So can you give me a like a little another introductory good recipe
So people
that
like bowls, okay? People like bowls. Um, so you could make your, I'm not a big rice fan, but I do cauliflower rice. So there's a whole nother story why I don't like cauliflower rice because it has arsenic, but short and short, and brown rice has more arsenic than white rice. So let's do cauliflower. And we could talk about that. It's a whole nother topic. I told you I could talk about a lot of things. So you've got your cauliflower rice in the bowl, right? You got your cauliflower rice in the bowl. Again, because you don't like sardines, I would smash them up and add them to a sauce. Then you could add your edamames. You can add your chicken. You could add your cucumbers and tomatoes and then create a sauce, maybe tangy, maybe Asian, maybe, Mediterranean, with your cilantro, whatever, and add the sardines a little bit to that with some spice, with some cayenne spice, if that's your thing, and then put that into the bowl. So now you're getting a higher level of protein, which we always want. But remember, just eating protein is not good enough. You need to eat the protein plus do the weightlifting and the training to grow muscles to increase your mitochondrial health and your longevity. So again, putting that together, you're getting a higher protein source. You're getting your edamames. Make sure they're organic. Although there's an argument about soy and organic, but I still think our soybeans need to be organic. And add that. Do tomatoes. Do red onions. Do whatever else you want in that bowl, and then add it to it.
what kind
And
of
and
sauce do you like?
I love Asian. I love Mediterranean. When I say Asian, I'm more Thai and Vietnamese than
Okay,
I am Chinese,
so
or Japanese is okay.
we talk Mediterranean diets. What would be a Mediterranean sauce that you would recommend?
So with Mediterranean sauces, you're going to want to add tomatoes. You're going to want to add basil and oregano. You can smash those up. You can add lemon and vinegar and olive oil and then put that in there. And you may want to add some spice. I mean, it's not that Italians don't use spice, but they're more pepper adders. So I'd probably add a pepper to that, like ground pepper.
I think the biggest challenge in this is not me about sardines, is me learning how to freaking cook.
Well, and Superfood has a whole like I really need to make a cookbook, but then that means I'd give away our nutritional protocol. And so it's interesting. I had a guy recently that came to our open house and he's like, Dr. Klioze, I want to write a book. Very, very prominent individual. He was involved in the Genome Project. He was involved in mRNA research and is very holistic now after seeing what he's seen and sees what I do. And he said, I want to write a book. I also, am interested in doing an international national course, taking people around, and we really want you involved. And I said, I got to write my own freaking book with my recipes the way I've watched people transform their lives, because our protocols have helped people with every disease state. I mean, when the woman come in my office out of a scooter and off oxygen, you want to go on your knees and you say, okay, God created our bodies to want to heal. We just have to give it the support. And we don't have to take fancy vitamins and fancy products and peptides and blah, 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 blah. You can get down that rabbit hole. And is it going to help? Probably. What ramifications, like a rippling pebble has in a brook or in a water, in a pond? We don't know. We don't know. Do I demonize them? No, because I don't want to be a naysayer to somebody who can, like GLP-1s. People demonize GLP-1s, but if you're the morbidly obese individual who just is, negative about yourself, that's why I don't like negative behaviors and thoughts that I can't achieve or I can't do, because it doesn't help you and it doesn't help anyone. And positive behaviors that's what drives our mitochondria produce more ATP. And then that makes healthier, endocrine, hormones. If you don't have that positive attitude, we're not going to win the race on longevity and health. So we need to drive that. And so if GLP-1s are what they have to take to start the journey, we can always work on getting them away. You never have to stay on anything, and the journey is that we go as natural as possible and we begin to listen and take time. And that work-life balance is important. What do we want our families and our lives to look like? How much time do we dedicate to gratitude and love and happiness? Because that's what we want. And that's what drives health. That's what drives not the sardines, but they're a big part.
All right. If we go ahead, were you going to say something, Dr. Terry?
No, I'm not gonna say anything because I got I don't want to be negative.
Yeah, you got this. You got this.
Dr. Klioze, if Dr. Terry flew in from California, especially to have some sardines this evening at your house, and I was to just drive up and have a good old time,
You'd have a good old time just watching me.
What's making me eat this?
dry heave. What would you make? What would be something
Well,
that you
Tonight.
haven't discussed?
Okay, so I'm going to go outside. I've got some eggplants growing. I've got some peppers growing. I've got some kale growing. I've got some onions growing. I've got some Okinawa spinach, longevity spinach. I'd probably take some of those, chop them up, create a salad, put some tomatoes and cucumbers in there, make a sauce. Maybe you said, okay, Andrea, we're going to have to add some sardines into this dish. Probably do that. I may chop up some garlic. Oh, I forgot that in the Mediterranean one. Probably say chop up some tomatoes and garlic, add some more of those sardines in there, maybe make a bruschetta with sourdough bread, bake that first, put it on top. Very light, just flavoring. And then maybe what we would do, we would probably, so we had our salad, we maybe get some sweet potatoes, and then we would maybe see if we've got what we've got, maybe crab cakes, or do we have lobster, or do we have, what is it? Sea bass, or, what is my favorite? Corvina. If we have Corvina, sprinkle a little, what is it? Paprika on the top and a little bit of, garlic salt. Now we
It,
could switch this and we could actually make it more of an Indian dish with curry. And then we may want to put those things into a stew with the sweet potatoes, the onions, and add some peppers into a stew, add some chicken. Not sure the sardines would be in there, but we could try to sprinkle them in there now that Barron has taught us more. Dr. Barron has taught us about that blend, add some coconut milk to that. So, and
that
then
sounds
cauliflower rice to the side. So,
that sounds a lot healthier than going to Black's Barbecue in Texas.
for sure. That's the smoked meat on the smoker.
Yeah.
You got to have the beer with that. Don't forget the beer, which is a big,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
beer.
I get all,
Not that
and my mashed potatoes and oh yeah,
like fried mashed potatoes.
yeah.
A lot of butter on
Our
it, right?
our favorite.
Oh yeah, I gotta have the butter and
Yeah.
the barbecue sauce.
Yeah, ghee butter. Ghee is an alternative to butter, right?
Yes, I use
Yeah.
ghee. Very good.
Good. Very good. Yeah.
Well, gosh, I was going to ask you about, what's For somebody
Grown in the
who
garden.
doesn't want to try sardines, or what would you say to them to get them to try? But I think you've elaborated on every possible facet that would turn someone on to it. Unless, Dr. Terry, you still have any resistance?
No, no, I think she's broken me down. So, and
Just
giving me some.
don't look at them and don't smell them.
Yeah.
And get when you cook them, get the ones that taste the best. And what I would do is, does your wife eat them or your friends eat
No,
'em?
my wife's worse than I am.
Oh, okay. So what I would do is talk to your office staff, the one who likes them, and have her find the less fishy one of them. And then you take it home and try some of the things we've talked about. Don't look at it. Smash it up. Put
So
some sunglasses.
what is the brand again from Costco? My wife loves Costco. We'll try them. I mean, we have them for the
Wild
dog.
Planet. So they have 2 brands that I can't remember the
Wild
name of
Pacific Sardines. The
Yeah.
what's it called? The Wild Planet.
Planet.
Okay.
And
All right.
the other one is also good. This just had a little bit higher. They both were green, on the code scale, meaning healthy and good. This one's just a little bit higher. So the other one's also good, that Costco carries. And again, shout out to Costco because of their organic drive. Thank
Yeah,
you.
they're doing good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, we
yeah.
need more stores that care about their people. And we as
Yes.
consumers need to support those kinds of stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job. I will, since I reached out to you in desperation that last time, I will reach out to you in glee after I try my recipe, and I'll give you the props necessary. But thank you. I mean, this is good. I mean, like I said, on paper, it's like, why don't you try it? Why don't you eat them a couple? How often would you say eat them? Like twice a week, once
So
a
let's look
week?
at the benefits. You've got the protein. We got we talked about the omega-3 fatty acids and the power of that. We talked about the vitamin D, but there's also calcium, phosphorus, in addition to vitamin D, magnesium. So you've got some macro elements that are also very powerful. So I would, if I were you, I would try eating them once a week. And then if you're like, I can mask this, I can do this, then spread them into 1, to 3 times a week. And then you'll go away for a while. And then you may come back and do 2 times a week. When I was training for the Boston, I actually would eat them at least once to twice a day, sometimes 2 cans, believe it or not, Terry.
I believe it. Duh, I believe it.
Because of the power for my muscles, the magnesium, the vitamin D, the phosphorus, the calcium for my bone, the anti-inflammation, and the protein. So for an athlete, they're hardcore. They're hardcore, top of the list, because your vegetables that are your super greens are powerful from an anti-inflammatory and longevity standpoint, but from a muscle building protein standpoint, these are big and powerful. It's just that for a big guy, you'd have to eat a lot to get because you're getting 20 grams. They're going to want, in my case, I was looking at 5-foot woman, to maintain my muscle mass. I need, 80 to 120 grams of protein. So for my training, somebody that's bigger is going to probably need double that, or at least a little bit more, probably in the 150 to 180 range. So it depends on what their purpose is and what they're striving for. But an elderly person needs that too, because if they're muscle wasting, we need to drive muscle health, but it can't just come from protein. They have to do the exercise with the protein, as you guys know.
Well, for all those listeners, please leave in the comments some support for me that doesn't like sardines. I mean, and then let's go on this journey together, because I know that, Dr. Spencer obviously loves them, but I got to hear the comments to support, because I'm going to try this, and we're going to start doing this. And in one of these shows coming up, I will announce either victory or I don't. Well, we're going to announce victory. I don't do defeat. So we're going to announce victory.
And just let me know, because I may not be on that show. So you'll have to let me know.
Oh, I will let you know.
How did Dr. Klioze impact my life? Well, she made me eat sardines and I started doing it. I count that as a win. I helped someone transform to positive in the sardine arena.
Yes, you will do that, because I'm not going to eat them every day, but
And you don't need
if
to
I
eat them every day.
no, but the older we get, we get stuck in some of our food, and we stop enjoying food. They just become something we consume, and I think food should be something we embrace. You go to places in Europe, and and the conversations around the food table is something that is reverent. And I think in our Western civilization, sometimes we just feed for need, and so it's something that I relish. That just like tasting a fine wine, looking for different flavors, looking for different textures, and so I think that needs to be embraced and get out of the boring doldrum, because that leads to a boring doldrum life. So I
Yeah,
thank you for
the
I thank you for all
creativity is
this. Yeah,
important. Yeah. And the bones, when you eat those bones, it's a big calcium source too. I forgot to mention that from a macro
bones.
miller out there. Well, they're small, tiny bones, but you don't really taste them because by the time you break it up and put
Good
it into
God.
things, and that's another good thing for those of you who feed, because we used to feed our dogs naturally. I would get cans of salmon, that organic salmon, and I would get it at Aldi's, and I would give that. I'd break that up because it had the bones in there, so the calcium. Because otherwise, I was taking my eggshells, drying them out, and then grinding them, creating powder. Um, calcium powder from the eggshell. But this way, when you give them the salmon, you're actually having the bones. But in our case, we're getting the calcium from the bones in the sardines. So, and you're getting creatine, which is helpful for muscle mass building. Um, and it's small amounts. It's not what they recommend when they're trying to build muscle mass, but it's also very, very helpful. So, yeah, it's
You know,
Giving
I
that
wa-
to
I
the
wa-
dogs? Is that what you said?
not sardines. I would give
No, no,
I
no.
would
The
the
salmon.
salmon. Yeah. I would put salmon and I do carrots and I do spinach, or depending on what their health issues may be. Yeah, I mean, I had a whole bunch of recipes for my dogs.
so
So
I'm
doing this. This is a new show right here.
well,
That is a
right.
new
Well,
show.
I got to interject some. Spencer knows about my dog, and we started. He was been almost written off by a vet that just says, you know what, go home. He's hobbling on three legs, and we've been getting him sardines 3 times a week. And Michelle started cooking for him and making all fresh food and doing everything. All his skin rashes went away. His ears cleared up. And we doing all we did was change diet, use a PMF machine, red light, and massage. And as of today, he's walking without a limp.
Yeah, so PMF is powerful for skin and skin allergies for not just dogs, but for humans.
Oh,
PMF is
I
incredible.
love my PMF machine, but
Yeah, me too. It's
but
incredible.
my
Food,
dogs
food.
love sardines, and they're eating it 3 times a week, and and so it's
He
totally.
gave it to the dogs because he couldn't eat it.
Yeah, he's better. My dog does
The
better than
dog's
me,
gonna
but
have to take care of you later on.
right, right. Well,
So
Doc, this has been fantastic.
so listen. Dr. Terry won't tell you, but this is the irony of this whole conversation. Dr. Terry used to be a whiskey drinker. And I don't understand. I think it is disgusting. It is harsh. It is all. But yet he
Okay.
can't eat a sardine. So
Okay, I'm leaning on Terry. Michter's whiskey with a little ginger beer. I don't know, man. That's after the Boston Marathon. That was what I was doing. It was a single tall with 2 limes
You
because I
know
hadn't
what?
drank all
I'll
training season, and I was gonna freaking have my bourbon and my whiskey and ginger. I don't mind bourbon, but
it,
that Michter's Rye is hands down my favorite.
screw you, Spencer. I think I'm gonna have a sardine with a whiskey chaser.
there you go, man. There it is.
I just found my thing. I'll dip my sardine in the whiskey and I'll shoot the whole damn thing.
You figured it out. You figured out the solution.
You know what,
Yeah.
Doc? I love you for that one. So
Yeah, I have 2 alcohol weaknesses. Well, that's not true. I do like my Italian wine when I'm in Italy. I'm very persnickety because of glyphosate that's spread in California.
Yeah.
So I'm not a California wine drinker unless it's organic. But but I have particular wines, but I do like that bourbon and ginger, only a single tall. I don't
There you
need a
go.
whole of alcohol, so.
No, I don't drink that much anymore. I just have like a finger, but it's good. All right, Spencer, you try to throw me under the bus again, but you know what? Thank God we had Dr. Andrea to save me on that one. All right, Doc, that was very informative. Thank you so much for your time and doing this. And you have converted me. I will do this. But it's not just me. It's just there are a lot of people out there that are sick that could really benefit from eating better. And that's what you're all about. You're all about curing disease with diet and natural foods. And we so love you for that. We so appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. So we do diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, nasal breathing, spirituality, and community like us.
There we
So,
go. Love it.
all
Love
right.
it. All right. Take care, Doc.
Hugs to you both. Have a great day.